shall call this January 12th, 2023 meeting to order. And let's see, we are going to, at this time, we'll take a roll call vote first. And Michelle Kirkby and Leo Brem will be coming late. They're at the Dale Street concert for their kids. So let's take a roll call vote.
Jessica Riley here.
Tim Knight here.
Anna Mae O'Shea Brooke here. Perfect. So at this time, citizens at this time may address the committee on items of school business not on the agenda. The committee will take such items under advisement without action at the meeting during which the item is presented. Matters pertaining to the reputation, character, physical condition, mental health of individuals will not be permitted. And members of the public will also be welcome to comment during public input through Zoom. Please raise your Zoom hand. We ask that you keep your camera on when making a Zoom comment and that you follow school committee policy for public input, including speaking for no more than 3 minutes and only on topics under the purview of the school committee. So at this time, do we have any public input? Tim, you're going to monitor Zoom. Anyone here? Okay.
Nobody's raising their hand.
Nope.
What?
Nope, you're good.
Nope. Okay, fantastic.
I don't believe your microphone's on.
My microphone?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay, super.
So these microphones are specifically to broadcast out.
So that's not hooked up to a,
It's hooked up to the television, to
Can
the
you,
Medfield
can
TV.
you not hear me? Okay, all right, I'll try and project. Okay, sorry about that.
You have seats in the front row if you want. We can upgrade you.
Right. It's
For
like
free.
being at church. Nobody wants to go there.
Fair enough, fair enough. All right, at this time, we will take a look at the minutes and seek approval of regular session from November 29th, 2022, December 1st, 2022, December 6th, 2022, and December 8th, 2022.
Move to approve?
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Wonderful. And can we please release the executive session minutes of August 11th, 2021?
Move to approve?
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Wonderful. Great. That is done. So, new business. Culturally responsive practices vision statement. Mr. Vaughn and Ms. Hagan?
So, Madam Chair, as you know, that this has been an initiative that we've been doing for the last few years, and we've done pockets of our diversity, equity, and inclusion work. And we felt it was time for the district to develop a vision statement so that we're all kind of rowing in the same direction, not doing 5 different silos of the work. So they'll tell you how it happened, but it started this summer, and I know they alluded to it earlier with their kickoff presentation to the committee. But Nat and Brenda.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. So just a little bit of context. So the last time we were here with members of our site council, we gave an overview of culturally responsive practices and the work that we did in the summer with over 35 educators from across the district, teachers and administrators. So out of the summer work came a need and a desire for a vision statement and an overarching framework for the community to guide our work, to give us common goals, and to also unify our approach across the buildings. So throughout the fall, we've been weaving in professional development based on the work of Zaretta Hammond that we discussed last time we were here during faculty meetings, and over the last couple months with the input from representatives from that summer group and the leadership team, department chairs, we've developed this draft of a vision statement that we're sharing with you today. And
so part of the way the work was, we first looked at the DESE guidelines, which was a hyperlink within the pack that you have, which is the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, Culturally Responsive Teaching and Leading, and it's similar to the teaching rubric, but it really has a rubric structure for how educators, so it's aligned with what the state's expectations, and aligned with sort of the frameworks for this work for all educators. So we started with that, and then looked at our mission statement, being the district mission statements within the schools, and also gathered vision statements from various schools and educational organizations. And with the summer group that we had that Brenda was talking about, we met this fall after the kickoff summer work and really looked at a number of statements and really started to pick and see what resonated with our own district and values and beliefs, and went from there. And then really a number of us, the team there was representation from all 5 schools and administration, culled information and tried to synthesize commonalities that we felt aligned with all those pieces, and came up with a draft statement, sent the draft to a representative group of the summer group, brought it to a leadership team, to the department chairs, and a lot of collective revisioning, and thanks to Brenda's expertise as an English teacher and former department chair, helping with some wordsmithing as well, and refined it collectively. And our hope and plan is, if this is adopted, voted tonight in the affirmative by the committee, we would then bring it to, we meaning the collectively, would bring it to each of the buildings at some upcoming faculty meetings and take some professional development time to really look at the different aspects and both global or macro and micro levels to see what does this look like for us as a school, as departments, and then also in individual teacher roles, how does that fit in? And then also bring it with our site councils as well, to really think about making sure that we're engaging the community in this work as well. And seeing some of the alignment, and it really does dovetail, hopefully, and hopefully you'll see, that it dovetails with a lot of the work that we're doing within our initiatives with professional development already in the district. So I'll read it aloud, knowing that the public doesn't have a copy, and I also know I can speak quickly, so tell me if I need to slow down. So this is our proposal for the Medfield School Committee for a culturally responsive vision statement for the Medfield Public Schools. The Medfield Public Schools is committed to providing a safe, equitable, and inclusive environment, striving to prepare our students to live productive lives in a diverse and ever-evolving world. To meet this commitment, we will aim to foster a school environment in which all members of the school community feel a sense of belonging and safety, provide equity of opportunity and access for every student, develop and continually update curricula that affirms and is reflective of diverse perspectives, experiences, and identities, employ current research-based instructional practices and pedagogy, provide ongoing opportunities for professional growth for all staff centered around culturally responsive pedagogy, commit to recruiting, hiring, and supporting staff from diverse backgrounds and experiences, and partner with families, caregivers, community members, and organizations to promote the learning and growth of all students. And at the bottom of the vision statement draft, just so the community hears as well, is that this is developed in accordance with the DESE guidance that we alluded to earlier. So happy to answer any questions about the process or how this came together.
And I think what the committee that worked over the summer and then worked this fall is asking is for, affirmation of the school committee to make this our statement ongoing, so that when we start doing this work even more, that we're following our own vision statement as we move forward with this work. So I think it's really important for all of our staff, all of our teachers to have support with this, and I would encourage the committee to support this as well.
Super. Now, how are you folks going to roll it out to all schools so that everybody is aware of this, so to speak?
So we talked about it at our last leadership meeting, and so the idea is to take the statement back to a faculty meeting in each building, and then actually flesh out each bullet. So, I'm envisioning like paper, around with each bullet with teachers kind of how does this, then what are the practical aspects of this? How do we meet this goal in the classroom, in the building, as your role, so different roles having input, and then maybe even forming committee, we haven't fleshed it out that far, but I think each building going through that same process will help us be unified and help us kind of work together, same goals, and then almost like a vertical alignment. What does it look like at this level? What does it look like at this level?
Very good.
I think and then I think the hope is then bring it back and see what we're seeing collectively, and then also there's going to be areas that we know that we are behind on, or that we feel like we've made some progress in this area, and knowing, well, all right, well then what would that look like, and that'll work. And I know the DEI task force is meeting next week. Next week, which will be a good also avenue, hopefully, to use this as a framework, as Jeff was saying, sort of as our guide to think when ideas come forward, does this align with what we're trying to do? And if not, why, and maybe what does that look like?
Okay, beautiful.
So I have a question, and I'll explain the question in a minute. But what bad things happen if it's not approved tonight? Like, can we do that, what you just described, bring it to each building, bring it to the
Siri
building,
knows what bad
align
things
with the, align with the different buildings, bring it back, see what we are seeing collectively? Like, can we do that without voting and accepting it right now?
I mean, I can venture a statement, I don't know, Jeff, if you want to.
No, I would say sure, of course we could do that
Yeah.
without it, but I mean, I think symbolically it sends a great message if the school committee supports it from the
From the
from the
get-go.
start,
Absolutely.
versus.
Yeah, I'm not, it's hard not to support the
Right,
words
no.
that I see.
Understood.
And I'm not gonna, the second question I would ask is there anything in here, that's different or changing from what we have, other than maybe we don't have something specifically to it? But I think, higher level, I would say, we just saw it for the first time, I think, in the packet. Nobody from the community has seen it, and it would be worthwhile to, have more time to get some input before voting it in. That's my opinion right now, and I'm one of 5 on the committee. 2 other members are not here right now. But that's my immediate reaction to it, and it's not in any way, shape, or form saying I don't support it. I'm just saying this is a very, very important topic. If you're saying, hey, this is our framework, this is the draft, and we in the school committee, we sometimes with a policy, it's like a reading one. I support it as I see it.
I have to
Well-
That's
say-
my only,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's
May I
my
speak, Madam Chair?
hesitation.
Just
Sure,
briefly?
yeah.
Thank you. I think that there is a very fine line. If we want to, either postpone this to postpone this agenda item until our other 2 members are here,
Yeah.
that's fine. Or if we were to even choose to postpone it until the next meeting, that's fine as well. But I do want to make sure that we are not putting ourselves in the position in which we are legislating something that is ethically and morally correct.
Yes.
That's just a bad message all over the place. Like, opening it to the community and saying, do you believe in equity? Do you think we should put this in there? Do you believe in culturally responsive practice? No. When you are leaders and you are in a leadership position within the community, sometimes you have to say this is the right thing to do. That makes me sometimes popular and sometimes not, but I don't see anything radical in here. We're simply saying every child in this district, every teacher in this district, and every member of this community deserves to be respected from where they are within their culture. We can make a much bigger deal out of it than it actually is, but at the bottom, it's really just about being human and being accepted. That's my general feeling.
And I agree with that, and, but to Tim's point, I'm happy to move this. I mean, I'm ready to vote now, but I'm ready to, I'm also happy to move this down until, Leo and Michelle get here.
Right.
And hear their input as well. But I think this is fair, reasonable, our responsibility to do as school committee members, and also if, DEI, people just need to continue the work that needs to be done. And this would give a framework for the DEI task force starting next week, so I would be in favor of voting for it tonight, but I'd like to hear what Leo and Michelle have to say.
And this
So-
does align with our policies. And there's nothing in here that says, that we are changing any part of the school committee policy. This is a vision
I'm not-
statement,
Yeah.
And I'm saying that,
Yeah,
I
I understand
think
your point.
my, potential delay, I look at as health, a healthy process. The other question I might say, and this is, okay, great, we have our vision statement, what are we going to do, differently? Where is the points of emphasis, where do we see change? I think that's part of a process. I know we continue to do, those are just my immediate reactions.
but that's part of Dr. Marsden's job within his staff within the staff that is moving this forward. You know, our goal and our responsibility is to look at something and say, does it align with our policies? Is this the right thing to do? Does this support students? Is this the best for them? And that last statement should always be the first one. And I don't feel the need to put procedures or anything like that in place. This is going to work itself out within the classroom, within community conversations, within the conversations between parents and caregivers and community members. But I do think I would feel more comfortable if we were able to put the vote in the discussion a little further down.
Sure. And I'm sorry, I should have realized that.
Yeah,
with
you
the
wouldn't,
vote,
yeah.
But, so do you mind waiting? Okay.
Are you okay with that?
Oh, I understand.
I would just, I would hate to deprive them of
Yes. to
the
be part of the
opportunity to
discussion.
also be
No worries.
part of this.
Sounds
good.
good.
You bet.
The other
Thank
thing we
you.
could do, and just throwing it out there, is that we could bring this back at the next meeting on the
Mhm.
26th after the public hearing. That would allow some, not all the buildings, but some of the buildings to do what Brenda and Nat had talked about, and maybe there's additional feedback at that point, so you could get additional feedback before doing the vote. That's fine too. I mean, I think whatever you choose. I mean,
So
they're
in that-
gonna be here on the 26th anyway, because it's a budget hearing, so.
Yeah, again, and that's kind of just where I'm all for. There's nothing I'm saying is opposed to anything in here. And it's all appreciation for everything done to get here. My question was, what bad things happen if you don't? And it says, hey, this is the draft of the vision statement that we've brought to the school committee. Our next step was to bring it back to these faculty meetings in each building and get that feedback. You know, maybe there's some interesting feedback, and that's the only thing I'm suggesting is everything in here I support. I'm just wondering, you know.
But if we
and
did
it is
vote on it
coincidental that
tonight-
I'm,
If I may, I just want to clarify, and I think feedback will happen. The intent that we were thinking was to build off of this,
Yeah.
not necessarily for feedback, because feedback has been brought in, not that we don't want it from more staff, but just in the sense of the intent of bringing it back, and that may be different depending on what happens tonight, but just knowing that the intent was at the faculty meetings was to really dig into the statements.
And show what it looks like.
And to see what it actually looks
What it
like,
looks like in your
because
building, in your classroom. I mean,
To your,
that's-
to your point, almost every one of these bullets comes directly from the Department of Ed.
Yeah.
And so is it gonna change the work? I would not say no. I think it's gonna clarify the work and also give a sense, and sometimes it is as Jeff was saying, a symbolic
Right.
piece and something that for staff that may have questions, families that may have questions, where is this coming from? Where is that? We don't have that right now.
Right.
Is the beliefs, I think, within internally? Absolutely. And it's part of the work that we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly not perfectly. Lots of room for improvement. But I think I just wouldn't say that, I don't think it'll change it. I think it would just solidify. I don't know.
And it might give you concrete examples of what it looks like
Yeah.
within each building, but it won't
And
change the,
clarify. Yeah.
you know, the
Right.
bullet points.
I would feel comfortable at least postponing the vote until
They get here.
they get here,
Yeah.
and then we can decide, you know, if you want to
Exactly.
bring it to the floor, I
Yep.
would be willing to vote on it right now, but if
Yep,
Tim
ditto.
felt like that wasn't the case, you know, we can
Address it with
discuss
the
it.
other two. I
Right.
think that's fair.
Lily,
All
do-
right.
do you have, I'm so sorry, I'm not the chair here, but could we ask Lily
Yeah,
about
sure.
some of, have you been able to read the vision statement? Do you have any input into this? I don't want to put you on the spot.
I
You
mean-
don't have to, but,
I don't have anything like opposed to the vision statement. I think it's a good idea, especially to have it like in writing,
yeah.
so like they can refer back to it when they need it.
Very good.
Great.
Thanks, Lily. Thanks, Jess, for doing that. All right, so we're gonna table you for a
All good.
second? Okay,
All right,
thank you,
thanks.
thank you, thank you.
Yep.
All right, lovely. Next on the agenda is the Madeline L. Grant Scholarship Award winners. There are two of them.
Yes, and as you know, each year we vote on these so that the town can release the money to the students. So I would ask you to approve and to release the funds of the Madeline Grant Scholarship in the amount of $3,000 for each of the MHS 22 graduates, Rachel Parry and Lulu Brook. I ask that you approve as presented.
So moved, and congratulations to both.
second in
Second.
both matters.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Wonderful.
Right,
Um,
thank you.
Do you, I always hate to do these scholarship things and not have a little bit of background on them. Can you remind me what the Madeline grant is, Dr. Marston, or, I'm sorry, I know that we've done this before.
I know we have.
It's like the higher achieving students.
Well, yeah, I was, do we remember who Madeline Grant was? I'm so sorry.
I had a write-up on it last time, and I don't.
Yes, and I don't
yeah.
have it with me this time.
I know,
I'm sorry,
I
I don't have
just-
it.
We will put it in the packet, and it's not because we
Yes.
don't appreciate it, it's just sometimes getting to meetings.
No, and it's a very generous scholarship.
For sure.
It's very
Thank you.
much so.
So, all right. Any other items since posting on January 10th?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, great. FY '24 budget update.
So as you know, we have our budget hearing coming up on the 26th. It did appear in the Hometown Weekly, the advertisement for it. It's going to appear next Thursday and the Thursday after as well. So we've certainly made the requirement, which is 10 days prior, so that is in there 3 times to every home in the district.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you.
So Michael and I continue to work on that. We're fine tuning. We're trying to get below the 5.65 that we presented in December. So we're looking at areas around electric and utilities and also special education. So those are the points that we're looking at. We're meeting again tomorrow afternoon to try to go through some of this and get it down. So as you know, we'll do that presentation on the 26th. And at that point, you know, we're looking to see we haven't met with the town yet at all to see where they're at and what the numbers they're looking to do. So we're still working on it. You know, there's retirements that come in, we're waiting to see what happens with the high school course selection to see if there's reductions there as well, as we talked about in December, where we have a lower enrollment at the high school and we have additional staffing there. So we're looking to see if we can make some adjustments there as well. So still working on it. Unfortunately, it's not all of it will be a clear picture by the 26th of January. As we know, we go through this whole process every year. So we will put the entire budget online as we have every year. And once we're done with that, that will go online prior to the 26th, the line by line like we do each year.
Do you have any update on the state's response to the superintendent's requesting that the 14% increase on tuition? I'm just being hopeful. I
Yeah,
imagine that
that's not going anywhere. It's gonna stay.
that's a real shame.
Yeah.
Not because, I mean, it's just, neither entity is wealthy,
Yeah.
either the schools or the specialized schools, the 70-66 or the public schools, but it's kind of robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Well, just so you know too, that because of a new administration, the new governor gets a couple extra months to do the budget. So Governor Healy's budget will be due a little bit later than what we've expected in the timeline. So we won't get those numbers as far as Chapter 70 for a while.
So we're gonna have to do educated guesses, but,
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping
When
that it's
we-
gonna be more than $25 a student increase. I mean, as
Yeah.
I said, but I was talking to MCP the other night, one of the things, if you look back at the early 2000s in Medfield, each year it was going up, 3, 4, 5, 600,000 one year, state aid. And now we get $65,000 extra a year. So,
yeah.
as the problem
Extra.
isn't really with,
In quotes.
the problem is with the state funding. I mean, they've kind of really pushed that back on the cities and towns, and when you have a
Mhm.
community that doesn't have a commercial base and it's all in the real estate's back,
It's
homeowners,
incredibly
that's what we're
difficult, yeah.
dealing with,
The
so.
state needs to take that up, but.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with the new administration. Hopefully we get additional funding with the schools. Even if it's $50, if we get
Oh, that'd be
30,000, it's.
amazing,
It's
yeah.
good.
And what, I'm just checking the notes from before. What was the increase right now as it stands?
5.65.
Okay, so it's standing, yeah.
Mhm. So it's still there now, but it will be lower than that by the time we get to the budget hearing.
All right. Anything else on that? Appeal of superintendent's decision on the library books, establish an appeal process. We talked about it briefly at the last meeting. But I spoke to Andy, our counsel, And just to clarify, because during my tenureship of 9 years on school committee, we've never had to do this before, and to my knowledge, in the recent past beyond that, I don't recall this type of process. So I wanted to make doubly sure that we were going down the right path in terms, so we talked about policy, the procedure that's in place. So this will be an agenda item in open session at our February school committee meeting. And I will ask that school committee members please review the report, the comments, the supporting documents regarding the requests, and also the video. We spent 2 school committee meetings with public comment over an hour each, so I suggest reviewing that as well as reading the books. And at that time, we will either affirm the decision of the superintendent or not. And we will take a roll call vote, and so that's how we will do the appeal process. Any questions on that?
My question was, and I've read it a couple of times, like, where did Andy find within the policy manual where that is clearly, that is
Yes.
a clear process?
Yes, it
Because
is.
that was, I
Yes.
thought we had concluded it, and I may have just
So
taken-
policy IIAE, there, he said this fell under ideology. And then there's a phrase after that section where it says we use adopted procedures. So there was a procedure that is, that was created for this. And that last step was the appeal process where a person could appeal the superintendent's decision within the 7 school days after receiving notification, and the request needs to just be in writing to the school committee chair, which we received, but then there's no instruction thereafter, so this is really up to us. And that is why I sought guidance from our council to clarify. Does that make sense?
So, and without right this minute looking at IIAE.
Yeah,
So we get at the appeal,
yep,
and the process whereby we
We-
review and potentially,
and so we
we affirm or
not,
not.
yes,
That's the process that is up to us,
yes,
and so that's the process that you're recommending
yes,
that we follow.
yes,
Okay. And in the event that we affirm, the decision stands. In the event that we do not, then what?
we'll cross that bridge.
Okay.
We'll have to, then if we don't, we'd have to then,
Probably,
remove the books. If we don't. From the high school.
okay, and I'm being procedural here.
Yeah,
More-
yeah,
I'm
no,
not
thank you.
trying
Hey,
to,
folks.
genuinely just trying to make sure.
Yes.
So then we, in paraphrasing it, so we hold another meeting to discuss that.
Well,
and
actually, it's just going to be during open session in our
Correct.
February meeting. Hi there. So you folks are now in at 7:38. Leo Bremen, Michelle Kirkby, welcome. I just hope you enjoyed the concert.
It was lovely.
So we're just talking about the appeal process for the decision on the library books. I was just stating that I had a quick conversation with Andy, our counsel today, because I wanted to make doubly, triply sure that we're going about this in the right way. And he had suggested that all committee members review the reports, review the comments, the supporting documents. I'm also suggesting, we spent those 2 school committee meetings with an extensive public comment period to review that, to review the video, and read the books. And our task is then to either affirm the decision made by the superintendent or not.
And when will we be doing that?
At the February school committee meeting. It'll be an agenda item.
All right, so I do have one question. Are we affirming that we believe Dr. Marsden went through the correct procedure, meaning that he assigned it to people within the community who were able to, within our school community, within the experts within our school community, and listened to the people who presented, and looked at it with current pedagogy, current understanding of education, things that are covered in our vision statement that we have not yet voted on. But I would assume that that would be a pretty good framework for what we were looking at. Are we looking to see that he went through the correct procedure? Or are we saying, in the end, we believe that Dr. Marsden did not make the right choice for the children of our district? Because those are two very different things, and I'm very concerned that we make sure that we put together a correct mission statement for this. Because I don't think the five of us are any more qualified than the people who really spent their time discussing, looking at, have PhDs and EDDs and multiple years of education around this. So I want to make sure that we know exactly what it is that we're voting on. Do we believe that Dr. Marsden didn't do the right procedure, or do we believe that it's our own morality that we're kind of questioning here, right? Like that we're imposing our sense of what should be there. Like, and I think that's an important question for us to talk about, because it is two very different decisions. It might seem a little messy, but I think it's important, because this is about acceptance, this is about kids, this is about how kids feel, whether they have a safe space here. And so that's not necessarily part of this debate, but it is here tonight. But it should be a part of how we understand our mission. So I would like to open that up to the rest of the committee, if I may, Madam Chair, to see kind of if I am parsing too much, or if that is something that that you would be willing and interested in discussing, because I think we need to know what we're deciding here.
I think that's a fair question. So I guess what I would ask is, what was the spirit or essence of the process of appealing to the school committee?
Within the policy?
Yeah. So I think that's the interpretation of that particular policy of why, what is our role? Is our role to say that we felt that the process was flawed, or that the outcome was flawed, right? So I think that's what you're asking, right?
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Like, do we look and question? It's a little bit like, do we look and question our staff, their decisions, and what they bring to the table, saying, yeah, but we're going to do something different because we don't agree with it, or we do agree with it. Either way, we're making a decision about what their expertise and professional opinion is, taking into account what our community has told us. Or are we saying that the procedure wasn't correct? Right? That's really, what exactly is the appeal here
Okay.
that we would decide?
How I see this
Yeah.
is that we are either agreeing with what Dr. Marsden finally decided after the reports, after the comments, after feedback from the appeal committee, and that is what we're affirming. Either we agree with his judgment or we don't.
What does the rest of the committee feel about that? Does that seem like
And
the
if we
right decision?
agree, the books stay in the high school, as he recommended. If we do not agree, to me, personally, it says, I'm thinking we remove the books, right?
Well, I don't know.
Start,
Or put one
or
back.
start,
Remove from the high school and put one back at the middle school.
yeah, or, exactly.
Right, I mean, I think
What
that
did
we
Andy-
shouldn't
what was
hop from
Andy's take on it?
procedure to action.
It was either affirming or not your decision.
That's what you've,
Yes.
that it's affirming his decision specifically.
Correct.
Okay, but what is the affirmation based on? Right, that
That
Dr. Morrison went right through the
Followed
correct procedure. Mhm.
and made a decision
Mhm.
based on,
On the
The
feedback
feedback.
that he had gotten from the,
correct.
Recommendation.
mhm.
Yes, the recommendation, excuse me.
All right, so I just want to make sure that we're being very clear about what we're
I
looking at.
agree with
Because
you,
it's
Jess.
really, yeah.
Yes, we're.
I'm not fighting it
These
at
are
all, I'm just
uncharted
saying.
waters.
I know.
Yes.
It will not be an expression I miss at all. This uncharted waters part. So do we feel like that would be,
Yes.
Okay.
So by the February 6th, everyone should do their due diligence. And the reports, the comments, the supporting documents, the videos, make sure you're done with the 2 books. And be prepared for a discussion. All right. All right, great, thank you. New elementary school project. Who's got an update? Anyone get an email?
nope.
No?
I haven't, did you get one?
I got an email to do the ethics training and to swear in,
Yes.
but that's it.
No first meeting date?
Nope.
Not that I've heard of,
No,
no.
it's my understanding it's going to be this month.
The meeting is?
The
Yeah.
meeting's going to be this month, yeah, that's my understanding.
Things are in motion.
Right.
You know, they needed,
Marion told me that the select board was going to finalize a decision the other night on when the first meeting would be, but I haven't heard anything since.
okay, I heard that was an epic meeting.
Okay.
And I haven't heard, the final, but it was my understanding, that you need an interim chair to at least call the meeting and start it, and then you folks will be on your way.
Okay.
So that should be happening soon.
I thought it was the week of the 23rd at some point, but haven't heard anything. That was
Okay,
what the whispers were.
yeah. All right, they're probably still solidifying a date. And they are gonna have it, I think, an option to either Zoom in or be in person. I think they're hoping for in person, but
Okay.
that was the intent. All right.
Well,
Well, anyways,
times.
it's gonna start. We've got a great committee. Community engagement and communication, any updates? Michelle?
Sure. We have our virtual informal conversation happening next Wednesday, January 18th, via Zoom, 7 to 8. Tim and Leo, yes?
Yes.
Formerly
Yeah.
known as office hours, but it's not an office.
Rebranded, yep.
Rebranded.
Um,
Exactly.
Yeah, so the, posted about that, there'll be something in the patch about that shortly, it'll be via Zoom. Social media followers are stabilizing, but we've been having increased engagement overall on our posts, so I feel like that's, kind of the goal that you're looking for. So yeah, overall things have been going in a positive direction.
Cool, thank you.
And how did, you had the first meeting, I think, in December?
Mhm.
How did that go?
Yeah, they recapped.
Yeah, we had 2 people show up, one of them wanted to discuss, one of them
Oh, yeah.
actually wanted to just kind of,
You may have, actually, I think
Yeah.
we've already we
Yes,
covered this
we
before. I
covered
can
it.
check my other
Yeah.
notes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's in the minutes for, that were approved
Yeah.
tonight. Yeah, so, but it was basically about, one person wanted to address kind of the substitute issues and, which, are familiar to us, but, they had some great suggestions. And then another, party really wanted to be able to talk about, the differences between PTO and site council and different ways, parents can be involved and really clarify some of the rumors and things that they had heard out there about the differences. So
Okay, cool. Perfect. All righty.
I'm not actually looking at my phone, I'm looking at our documents. This is kind of,
All right, very good. All right, so we are now going to go back to,
We saved something special for you.
sorry, we skipped, or we didn't skip, we started, but then we thought your input is very important this evening as well. So we are,
I thought I got to skip Nat.
Nope.
oh, Leo, that's not kind.
But he brought slides on handouts, so
Don't take it
you can
personally.
see all of them.
I think he's,
Hearing fine.
so we're going back to the culturally responsive practices vision statement.
Should we dance this time? I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, folks.
So last time we were here, we gave an overview of culturally responsive practices with members of our site council, and the work that we did with the summer with over 35 members of the district, teachers and administrators. So we went over the summer work out of the need, or sorry, I did better the first time. First draft was better. So out of the summer work came a need and a desire for a vision statement for the district, so we can kind of unify, guide our work together, unify our approach across buildings. And so throughout the fall, we've been weaving in professional development that came out first out of the DEI task force, and then out of kind of work and research that we did over the summer. So we have been doing professional development during faculty meetings grounded in these practices, and also approaches endorsed by DESE. And over the last couple months, we developed this vision statement that we're sharing with you today that started with the summer group and kind of evolved, and Nat will talk a little bit about how it was written.
So from the summer work that Brenda referenced and we talked about last time, that consisted of about over 35 educators across the district, including the entire leadership team and representative staff from all 5 buildings. And so from the summer work, one of the pieces that was, we felt like a need, and that kind of came from everyone, for a statement, a vision statement that would help guide the work. So to do that, we really started with the Department of Ed's guidelines for this work, and there's a link within the packet. It's called the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, Culturally Responsive Teaching and Leading. And it's really, the way it's structured is a rubric that spells out guidelines and structures for that work that you'll see within, if you look at that, you'll see within the bullet points that we have in the draft elements from each of those. Also looked at our mission statement from the district and each of the 5 schools, and then really looked at a bunch of samples from various schools at all levels, higher ed, elementary, and educational organizations, just to see what that looked like. And then through a collective process, we met with the group this fall and really picked them apart and really took elements of what we wanted, and then what came to the surface, we then synthesized, and as a collective group, collectively formed together a draft and sent to a representative grouping from the summer group, and then from there, shared the draft with our leadership team, with department chairs across the district, and refined it collectively. I mentioned earlier, Brenda's experience as an English department chair and English teacher really helped with that process. And then really our hope moving forward is, if this is voted on in the affirmative tonight, we would then, our next step would be to bring it to buildings and staff at each of the 5 buildings to really break it down and look at, from each bullet, what does that actually look like for each school, each department, each teacher, each role, and see, and some will be more pertaining to others, but kind of see where are we, do we feel like we are hitting some marks and doing this work, where haven't we begun, and where do we need to do that. So I will read aloud the statement, because I know the public doesn't have a copy. So this is our proposal for the Medfield School Committee, Culturally Responsive Vision Statement, Medfield Public Schools. The Medfield Public Schools is committed to providing a safe, equitable, and inclusive environment, striving to prepare our students to live productive lives in a diverse and ever-evolving world. To meet this commitment, we will aim to foster a school environment in which all members of the school community feel a sense of belonging and safety, provide equity of opportunity and access for every student, develop and continually update curricula that affirms and is reflective of diverse perspectives, experiences, and identities, employ current research-based instructional practices and pedagogy, provide ongoing opportunities for professional growth for all staff centered around culturally responsive pedagogy, commit to recruiting, hiring, and supporting staff from diverse backgrounds and experiences, and partner with families, caregivers, community members, and organizations to promote the learning and growth of all students. And then just at the bottom of the vision statement, we have the link to DESI's guidance and the rubric that they've shared, which each of the bullet points really, you'll find elements within that framework.
What's your vision for how this will be applied to the buildings and the different departments?
So-
Can you just go like kind of the step on who's going to be administrating this, who's going to be doing this, how is it going to work?
Yeah, so, I mean, do you want to? Okay, sure. So really thinking, I mean, Brenda had shared, and I think it's a nice idea, our thought is that at faculty is to really actually have chart paper around the room with bullets, and it'll be led through the faculty meeting process, and we would preview it ahead of time, you know, send it out, and I think Dr. Marsden had shared, if this is voted in the affirmative, that would be sent to the district in the next couple days, so people have time to do that. We also have the DEI task force next week, which is reconvening to bring together, and then really thinking about kind of taking it one step at a time and see where does that come, have some conversations, and see what applies. And then most of this work, and I would say all of this work really, and this question came from Tim earlier, does this change the direction? I would not say it changes the direction. I think it really just helps center the direction for a compass to come back to. And then I think what I would venture to guess is that elements of this will be part of the strategic plan. That would be my guess that Dr. Marsden's been talking about. So I think it's really thinking about it as a guidepost for our work and sort of a checkpoint that, you know, along with the other piece I neglected to mention this time was that in addition to bringing to our staff, that it would be part of a site council as well, that each of the site councils and really bring that in to make sure that we are working with community and what that looks like.
It also clarifies our expectations of the district, like what we expect our folks to do. And
Right.
everyone's in a different, you know, place in their journey with this work. So I think, you know, it clearly outlines the expectations, what we think we should be doing in the classroom, at the classroom level and at the school level.
One piece too is just, I mean, oftentimes we try not to use too much, you know, air quote, edubabble. I mean, because I think when we use terms, what does that term actually mean for us? What is equity? What is this? And I think that's part of this work too. So that, because I think it's so important with any work that we do, particularly with work that can feel more, again, air quote sensitive. I think it's really important that when we use terminology that we're, as best we can, come to common terms about what those words mean and what that applies to.
So I have a follow-up because I'm glad I heard it twice. I guess I will ask it this way. So the link is it's culturally responsive teaching and leading, and then you brought it forward, and that helps with where my concern was. You brought it forward as culturally responsive vision statement, and and the only thing I was thinking out of it is that's where I'm saying it's all. Looking at it from all perspectives, where the link you put it in is teaching and leading, which to me that says, okay, I have a better understanding that it, and I'm going to look at my notes again. But as you reviewed it, it was more amongst the faculty. So was that by design that you remove? Not remove. You know, that's not in there. But when I hear culturally responsive vision statement, I just think about it as all.
Yeah.
I know it's nuanced,
Yeah.
but it's still, that's kind of what drove my initial reaction. It's like, hey, well, what about, you know, getting input from across the board? If you're saying
No,
it's...
I think it's a fair point as far as like truly the title of this piece, because I think part of that is thinking the teaching and leading really is the scope of what we are, you know, what's in the scope and locus of control. If you will. Not, I don't mean control or influence, I guess, it's thinking it's on us. It's not saying that it's not part of the community, but I think that's a fair point as far as what that title might be.
Yeah. I mean, that's where I at least, you know, like, because I think no matter what, it sounds to me there is a, you know, well thought out process of gathering and gaining feedback. That process might surface, hey, you know what, bullet number X, we really want to refine that a little bit, and you would bring it back to us, right? And I'm okay with that, and it's more about amongst the faculty, which is because it's teaching and leading. So I would just say that's, but I think that is, to me, otherwise I'm thinking, is it a vision statement across the board? It represents it, but the process you're following is within that teaching and leading. So that's the only thing that it just changes how I look at it. I don't know if anyone else gets hung up. I sometimes do get hung up.
I'm definitely not, but I'm, unless there are any other comments, I'm ready to ask for a motion to entertain,
Do we need public comment?
oh, yes, excuse me, thank you. Yes, please. Yep, now's right, thank you.
Well, and even before, if we do that though, if it is, could it be culturally responsive teaching and leading vision statements? Is there a reason why you wouldn't do that?
Yeah, let's.
Like, and I'm not, I just, that's what I say, I didn't get a chance to really look through it till today, so I at least looked at the link.
Curve Street. I think first and foremost that I really want to make sure that that I state is that I just think this, I agree with the confusion on the vision statement in terms of whether this is an internal document for staff and learning or whether it's for the community at large. I think this is an excellent document. There's nothing in here that I would personally disagree with. I think it's excellent. I think it's wonderful. I think it reflects who we should be as a district. The only thing that jumps out at me that I have a very difficult time with is there was a statement made tonight that that this vision, this document, aligns with our policies, except our policies don't align with this vision. We have policies that are missing language to reflect this vision. So how do you reconcile, from a school committee standpoint, how to get the policies in line with the vision? I'll give you some examples. The second point here is provide equity of opportunity and access for every student. We have policies that are supposed to include immigration status is in the language, and they don't. We have the second point about curriculum. We have policies with regard to curriculum that don't include gender identity. Those words are missing from certain policies. And I have examples in there of which ones they are. The other point about hiring and supporting staff from various backgrounds, we have a policy, GCF, that doesn't include gender identity. So does that mean that we're not going to be hiring staff, that represent that demographic? So I think that's where I struggle with this, is that I think this is a wonderful statement that should be adopted, but I also think that we have work to do as a district, as a school committee, to make sure that the policies that we have actually align with this vision. And that's where I struggle with this. Because otherwise we're going to be, called hypocrites. So.
And you know what, Chris, I agree. And I think this is a work in progress. We're starting with the policies, so I feel we are moving in that direction because I too agree with these statements. So we do have to update in time our policies.
I mean, I think we also went through those policies with a pretty fine-tooth comb, and we had to align them at a certain point with the law. But, we can always add on
100%.
or, as we evolve.
Yeah.
So I think a vision statement is less about the policy intents have been there. Now, if in the wordsmithing, Chris, you don't believe that my statement is correct, I'm sorry about that. What a great opportunity for us to be able to go back and take a look and define those. But I also think that a vision statement and the intent and the direction of our policies has always been towards full equity. So.
I'm going to kind of reflect kind of what Tim was saying. A separate vision statement feels distracting to me in the sense of why couldn't these points be a part of our common vision statement, I guess, that we have for the district? So having one separately for cultural responsiveness, as an internal document, sure, and I guess I echo what Chris was saying on this one. Is it an internal document or is it an external document in that sense? And, I hope that we, I agree with all the things on this list, so I'm just wondering if us voting on it allows the school district to move forward with them, then by all means we should vote on it and do, so that the work can commence internally with our learning community as a whole. As a public-facing point, I guess, I don't know, if it's important, then we should do it in that sense. But I guess I kind of echo the same idea. It'll be part of our strategic plan to meet this, this vision along with all the other things that we want for our school district, right, at the end of it. So I guess that's my only question.
I mean, can we vote on this vision statement, say that we are in support of it, and then as part of our strategic plan, really be looking at our mission statement and incorporating
And
that
incorporating it, I
into-
guess that was my question.
Right,
Should
because
it be incorporated
this
as
can be
something, so it's not
temporal.
special, it's just what we do?
Right.
Right, I guess that's, I
But
don't
in
want to take
putting
away
an
from the
underpinning
impact
under the work.
that you were pitching here either, Nat and whatnot. That's not I'm not questioning the value. I'm just saying, like, are we muddying the waters with so many different visions?
I think we're clarifying it
Yeah.
in terms of, you just said at your last statement, this is just what we do,
Right.
so I suppose, me personally, I don't see I think this is important to
Sure.
do. I think it's
I agree.
important to give clarity. You missed Lily's statement, she was like, this is just stuff we do. I mean, I'm speaking for, so
But it
Lily,
needs to
if
be
you.
written down.
Yes, exactly, and it
It needs
needs
to be written down.
direction, and,
That's helpful for me, I get it, so, yeah.
yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
I guess I'm just looking for clarity, I guess, in the same idea of the,
Yeah, so-
And
so
this
I-
would
I go
provide
back
it.
to the scenario, though, I agree, and I would say it's something the administration is driving. The focus is on teaching and learning, so we should state that in the vision statement, and I feel more comfortable with it. It's, because if that's what, to say culturally responsive vision statement, to me implies across the board, students, families, community.
Well,
Would
that's
pro-
the-
like
that's
the
the
last bullet,
yeah.
partner with families, caregivers, and community members and organizations to promote the learning and growth of all students. For everything we do, I'm getting tripped up on that. If it's I don't think we did that. It was this process as I've heard it, and I'm not saying, I love the process, I wish we could move this faster, so I'm not trying to slow it up. This is some of the most important things we do.
Yeah, I
But
suppose,
I do get tripped up
Did this
teaching
come
and
out of
leading.
the DEI task force
I
as
have no
well?
idea.
So, I
Dr.
mean,
Harrison?
this is for
Because
the
there are
faculty,
community
this is
members
for
and
the
I think
staff,
it's-
this is our guiding statements for what we do in this work
Yes.
internally. That's what this is all about.
So, and I'm all for it,
Yep.
then I would suggest that you can support it, and we can
I
vote
do
on
support
it, but I know, and it doesn't, so let's put that in, though, when it's a vision statement, that it is for,
For teaching and leading?
that's, I mean, the link that you have goes, that's exactly what it reads, when you read the
Right.
MASC, it says, let me read it again, culturally responsive teaching and leading. So if that's where the baseline is, then that's the only area, I love it, I want to be
So
very
would it be
clear.
better if it said culturally responsive vision statement for teaching and leading?
Correct, yeah, because it's keeping it with what the process is, and that is consistent with the DESI link as well, that you say it was modeled after.
Yeah.
And I don't, Nat, I was like, sincerely, I said, was there any reason we chose, if they said, no, we chose to keep the teaching and leading out because we're saying something broader,
I suppose I'm thinking just as a title, because they include the link that actually says culturally responsive teaching and leading, so I'm thinking maybe
correct.
but then we've got the former head of department English teacher here. I mean, what do you say, Brenda?
One of the big pillars of culturally responsive practices is the relationship with students and families.
Yeah.
So like culturally responsive communication, are we sending things home that are translated? How are we pronouncing your name? Am I getting an interpreter? So that is that last bullet.
Yes.
And that's very much within staff, that's very much within,
So it's teaching,
right?
but it's not really, it's relationship with families.
right,
So
which
that's-
supports the learning.
Which
Yeah,
you
which
were
I think
trying
is
to
a
do
universal
internally.
issue.
To
Yeah, even though we're reaching out.
yes, exactly, but standard practices.
The one thing I would just, two things. One word that, it depends. Typically, how it's seen as culturally responsive practices is really the term. So that idea maybe it's so, not just culturally responsive vision statement. Maybe it should say culturally responsive practice. Just putting that out there.
I don't know, it seems more procedural than it is actually just
practices. I think
being,
would be what she said.
being a vision, being that which we hold ourselves to. I guess I'm not sure why,
So let me ask
why
it a
we're
different
having
way.
this
I'm gonna,
kind
I'm
of
gonna ask the
wordsmithing
same
thing.
question, the
'Cause
same
I'm just not
question that I
catching
opened
it.
it. What bad things happen if it was culture responsive teaching and leading vision statement?
I mean, it could be just semantics. I don't, to be honest with you, I don't know. I mean, you're asking.
No, and is there anybody on the committee here who says, I want it to be a broader statement that goes beyond teaching and leading?
Well, here's my concern when we have too many guiding things in school districts. And it came from my experience in technology. You hire a technology teacher to come in to help coach teachers how to use technology in the classroom. I'm using this as an example. But what happens is that person becomes the technology person, and that it doesn't have to be done in practice and pedagogy, because it is not part of the embedded grain of the how we do business. So when things are isolated and in a separate spot, as opposed to just the one guiding light that we have sometimes, it becomes just that. It's that extra thing, as opposed just to the way we conduct business. So I'm using that as an example. So if we have this vision statement, and we have our own vision statement, you know, our main one, now we've got two. I guess my question is if this is, at this moment, not really a replacement of our vision statement, then let's just vote it and let them go forward with the, you know, for the staff and everything else. I have no problem with that whatsoever. I believe in everything on the paper. Is it the vision statement, the main vision statement for the Medfield Public Schools?
It's
No,
not.
it's not.
No,
No,
it's
it's not.
different.
It's
It's
not.
different.
That's right, that's what I'm saying,
different.
and it's now,
Jeff, you were saying about getting it writing. I think the state recognized when they put out the separate doc, as separate from the educator's rubric, the administrative rubric. I think when the intent was to say, it's important to have these two things, because this is the overall rubric, which is but this is what builds into that work. That's how I
see.
that way of like there's really, it's enough and that important to really spell out that work. And I think because a lot of schools are truly, this hasn't been a part of what we do. So it's that important to really put that emphasis. Does it fall under that? Yeah, but it's with a very distinct lens. That's a broader lens.
And can you just repeat who was, how many people and who were involved in this? You said, because this was like staff, this was R&D over the summer.
Yep.
And then, so 35 staff, you took this to leadership, you took this to the department heads.
And there was representative in each of, I mean, the leadership was part of that, in addition to the number of staff across the cycle.
Okay. So I am personally comfortable bringing this to a vote, considering the diligence that, and the
Right.
deep dive that went into this work. And if the committee is ready, if someone is open to making a motion.
I make a motion to accept the vision statement as written, and to signal that the school committee is entirely supportive of this work, and we consider it an integral part of teaching and learning for our students and for our staff.
Second, Michelle Kirkby.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Abstain, okay. So 4 in favor and 1 abstention
And
tonight.
the abstain is, I would like it to specifically call out teaching and learning, those last two words. I just think that, because that was the process that was followed, it was for them.
Well, you can
So
call-
I want to be clear.
Yes.
I support every word on this. I'm
Okay.
asking for 3 more,
Okay.
so others don't have the same confusion I did.
Okay.
That's why I abstain.
Okay. All right, next thing on the agenda. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
Thanks.
you
Thank you for support.
for being flexible
Absolutely.
too.
Appreciate it.
And any other ways that, I'm sure my colleagues would agree, any other ways that we can support,
Agreed.
we will.
Take care.
Sorry about the cheap shot, Nat.
And it won't be the last, my friend, it won't be the last.
All right,
Take care.
bye there. Bye, thank you. All righty. Policy. Second reading discussion. Tim Knight, will you
Ooh, I
lead
get
this,
to
please?
Read this, yes, let me see, I had a couple notes about this. So, okay, the policy discussion, if you remember, I think we did the first reading on BEDH and BEDHE
Yes.
last time, and I think there was some good dialogue that we heard, during that. And there was one area that troubled me after we exited, so I wanted to just kind of walk through history. How did we get here first, and why did we go here?
Yeah.
What did we come up with? What did I find troubling, and how might we want to fix it? How would I suggest it? So, which you'll see. So personally, we're drivers. Why do we even open up the policy? I find the current policy to be confusing, specifically limiting the initial public comment to items not on the agenda, then reopening it up for each agenda item causes confusion, and in some cases, do we always reopen it up? So that was one. Two, if you were to say there's something on the agenda that has a lot of people who want to speak to it, and it's 8th item on the agenda, a lot of these people are, parents with young children, they would have to wait until 2-3 hours into the meeting to cover that, and that's not ideal for the public, but that's what our policy reads. Third, I think it's inefficient to have to call public comment for every item on the agenda. I think we can run ourselves more efficiently. And then the fourth issue was risk of policy violations. So what happens when we take it to vote, or a policy to vote, and we forget? And I don't know exactly what happens, but I do know I don't like when we, are called out for violating something and have to put resources into legal folks and figure that out. So those were the 4 reasons where I looked at it and said, hey, and also then viewing it, and I think some others may have gone to the MASC conferences between the summer and now. So the new policy, I think, that we proposed solves that. So I thought that was great. But what I didn't, and I think it came up in the conversation, well, what happens when, what the risk would be, we're voting on topic X, and we have discussion about it, and there's some back and forth, and somebody on the committee says, well, I know from statistics of these districts, this is the average, say it's a salary, this is the average salary, and because of that information, I think you all should support it. And I'm like, gee, I didn't know that, but, Theo's a really smart guy, and he knows these things. Great. I would say, well, that might be an area where somebody in the public might say, hey, this is what I learned, and it would be great that they have that opportunity before a matter that we vote on. So that's the area that I was troubled by. And, I'll pause for a minute. I don't know if anyone else, I just didn't feel great about it. Like, hey, it's an unintended consequence. It wasn't the purpose. It wasn't a driver at all. We welcome and we want that public input.
Agreed.
I want it to run more efficiently.
Yep.
And then I'm in trouble. I'm like, well, then are we gonna have to open it up on every agenda item again?
Right.
And so we're going backwards.
And so we haven't actually enabled ourselves to run the meeting more efficiently, which is,
But
and more equitably, because that's the other issues that we want to hear from everyone,
Yeah.
right, in the same amount of time. And I think,
Correct. So then the area that I found, that was the area that I found most troubling, was not being able to, in that situation, we don't hear from it. So what I suggested, and we included in the packet, was just adding another sentence, and it's in the packet if you want to read it, but the sentence reads, for agenda topics that require a vote, individuals may request to open up public comment after discussion and prior to the vote to address any discussion items which may have occurred amongst the school committee. should this occur, all guidelines for public comment will be maintained. So, and just
I
one.
think it's a good statement, yeah. I just wanted to
Yeah,
put one
and I
thing.
think in the event that nobody calls for it, from our side, nobody from the public says either at the beginning of the meeting, hey, I'd like this.
Yeah,
We're not inadvertently violating a policy.
yeah.
So that's where I think it opens that up, and it would be the onus on the public to say, hey, before we have this vote,
Yeah.
I'd like to do it. So that was the, I'm sorry to be long-winded, maybe it's my night, I've probably said more words tonight than I have in the last 2 years. But that I thought was a positive, and it still allows us to, it's not, there's plenty of flaws, it's not perfect, but it at least helps with what we were originally setting out to do.
The intent.
And it doesn't,
Yeah.
it still does protect the input that we value.
Yeah.
You know, so that would be the one change, and I know we've also removed it from a vote, which is okay by me as well. But I'm bringing that to the, 4 other members of the committee.
So the new proposal right now would open up public comment at the beginning, and now members of our community could speak to us on anything under the purview of this school committee. And then going forward, we'd start our regular meeting, and then if there was something that we were voting on, then members of the public could raise their hand to come and make additional comments. Okay?
Could we think about, just briefly, that is indeed the purview of the chair, right? And if we are trying to provide equity by allowing people to speak all at once, right? But we have seen that there is a significant amount of interest in a specific vote. Could that be something that is an option for the chair to do, right? And that the chair may also, because it is essentially the chair's meeting. And again, I'm afraid that if we just kind of put this blanket statement in, that the public can say, hey, by the way, I want to comment on that, then we're not actually helping ourselves increase equity or helping ourselves run the meeting in a way that increases efficiency. Because I do think that, we end up getting caught in these kind of discussions where,
Could we ask that everybody speak at the beginning? And then if they really need to say something again, like, could you have
Well, I
something?
mean, I
So,
think we
so,
can- the chair
yeah, I'll
can
tell you,
always
so I
gauge that.
I definitely,
sat
that was
there.
my first
yeah.
thought. The chair may choose to open up
Mhm.
public comment, and again, the onus is on the chair. 10 years, 20 years from now, when none of us are here, somebody may not even know, and it may not occur. And the
Well,
public
that's-
there's nothing the public can do about it. So, but I do actually, I kept it
I mean, but if it's written
the
down, we
way
know
I've-
that the chair can open it.
Yeah,
correct,
but
but if the chair doesn't, that's what it
Every chair
is.
is different,
Yeah.
so we
they
can.
can read
I
about
think
it in
that
the
that's
press the next
something
day.
that we should be
Can
working on
say-
anyway. but-
So correct, so it could say to me, do you want the unilateral control over that one, public input after discussion and before a vote to be up to the chair? It's okay, I'm one vote. I personally, I said, well, and then the second part was, is it at the beginning of the meeting? Somebody could say, hey, I see, we're voting on salary in agenda number 7. Can we open that up?
We could have a sign up
Yes.
at the beginning.
Correct, that's okay by me.
Some
And I
places do
I
that.
just think I didn't say whether it's at the beginning of the meeting or prior to agenda number 8, in the event that somebody isn't here.
I mean, let's talk about the reality of what happens in our meetings. When there's a hot button item on our agenda, the chair moves it to the top and we get it out of the way first, right? That's generally what happens in our meetings, correct? I mean, am I wrong?
Generally, but
Yeah.
we have to assume that we're gonna have different chairs, and people
Sure.
are gonna interpret things differently, and people have different styles.
get it, yep.
So I think to Tim's point, that this language, I like this language.
Yeah, me too, yeah.
I think when we leave it out, then it's one, misperception that we are not listening to folks, and two, it's just, it's in there that we
Gotcha.
will, if people want to say something, we want to listen, we do, despite what, so it's,
But going forward, we can have people speak on that same topic at the beginning, and then
yes,
again,
yes,
right before.
yes,
Okay.
yes, 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 yes.
Perfect.
Because the thing that I personally like about this restructuring is that, as Jess was saying, I feel like it's really more equitable to our entire community. Our current model places a really strong point of friction around time and possible monetary burden on parents like myself. I mean, I have 3 young kids, my spouse travels, Lily's helped me out sometimes. There are just so many times that I've wanted to attend meetings in town and other things, and I have to evaluate the time commitment, which can be over 3 hours, as well as a possible monetary burden on our family for me to have a sitter. So, and
Even
earlier,
if you're zooming in,
yeah,
you
no,
don't,
there's still that,
you don't
yeah.
know, I mean, we've all had little kids, you don't know what might be happening between the hours of 7 to 10, God forbid. But, yeah,
And earlier this year, there was a parent that came, and he was here prior to 7 o'clock, and he sat through the entire meeting. It wasn't something we were voting on, but he had something that he really wanted to talk about on a specific agenda item. And I don't think his time came up until close to 9:30. So he was away from his family for at least 3 hours to speak, and he said he had very young children. He said that specifically. So I just feel that an update to this policy would allow all members of our community to know exactly what time they would be allowed to speak to us. And I think that's really important because we're looking at, they could, make their public comment and then they can choose whether they sit through the meeting here live, or they can embrace Zoom and Medfield TV and continue to watch at home if they want to. And I just feel that this is really alleviating very real points of friction for many members of our community. And I hope that we're able to come to a consensus and update this policy soon so that we can give more people opportunity to be able to come speak during public comment.
I have to say, as having been chair, and I'm sure the NMA feels this way, and anybody else here who will be chair at some point, nothing is more irksome than having to say, I'm sorry, I know you have something to say, I can't let you say it right now. That's the part of this policy that I've always hated the most, and yet we have to, right? Because otherwise, yeah. So if we can bring all comment up, now, I think that's fantastic. I don't mind people talking or asking to be recognized from the floor in between. I just think that I'm not sure that we want to be so prescriptive in it right now. If we were to say, and that's just my understanding from kind of the flow of the meeting. I mean, perhaps if within our procedures, we were concrete enough to say anticipated vote, which we have been trying to do over the last 1.5 to 2 years, this is an anticipated vote. And at that point, we could use that as a flag or an indicator that we would be happy to accept comment after our deliberation. That's fine, but, just this kind of like, you can flag your hand after anything. I want to question minutes. I want to question this. I want to question that. It seems like it's not in the spirit of,
No, and I don't think,
But for.
I mean, right now it's written so that we should be stopping after minutes. We should be.
Correct, and that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying.
That's what
To
we're-
me,
yeah.
that's, you could say, we voted on, sometimes it's charitable donations. Well, stop, do we have public comment? I just think that's,
Yeah.
Common sense says there's places where you will and places where you won't. But that's where I think it clarifies for agenda topics that require a vote, they require after discussion and prior to the vote.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't think it simplifies, but still does, if somebody wants to comment after discussion and before a vote, we are bound to listen.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry to.
No. You're good. I'm
I
over
just
here.
can't get
For
online
whatever
myself,
reason,
that's why.
I can't get on either device tonight, so.
All right, so, We are not voting on this tonight.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
So what
That's
is the
fine.
procedure on changes? It can be, we can make the changes during the reviews?
So this would be considered our second reading, and our
Yeah.
next meeting, we would vote.
But,
So we'll
but we're
take-
revising it, though.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
we have
I
had
mean, there's nothing says
instances
we
where
can't
we,
do it.
we
Have
revise, you know,
Yeah.
even after a first reading, you revise,
And we
everybody
release it.
agrees, and we could choose to
Gotcha.
vote. I just don't think it's,
We release it to the community before the
Yes,
meeting. I mean, it's
yeah.
available before
It's-
the meeting in our
It's
meeting
up there now,
documents, so.
yep,
Okay. I think it's fine. I liked the changes.
I do too.
Yeah, so I think it's fine.
I'm more comfortable with the update.
Yeah. And I hear you, having the language in there takes out the nuance of different chairs.
Yes,
Yeah.
no, we
So,
want to be
yeah.
clear, we want to be clear. All right. How about BEDH-E? Tim?
I haven't, the change that I made, or the change that I brought forward, I don't think impacted BEDH-E,
Okay,
so I was keeping it as is.
okay,
Hmm.
okay. All righty.
So we wouldn't need to bring that up for, okay, we do, yeah, okay.
Any other comments on this policy? All right.
And then that's where I think adhering to the policy as it reads today, then we can call public input,
Correct.
even for the discussion, even if it's not a vote, because the way the policy reads today,
Right.
right, which we
Yeah.
would need to do, so we,
Yeah.
you know, I think what I'm hearing is we would be putting this in the packet for a vote in the next meeting. There will be discussion before, anyone
Mhm.
can change their mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so if there, it's your
Yep.
call, but if there is any public comments, and actually I
Can we
haven't been
check?
watching the Zoom.
Yeah.
Um,
Anything? Did you want to, any comments?
I don't see anybody raising their hand in the
Yeah,
Zoom.
I think that, yeah.
I had emailed, I didn't want to really eat up any time from the meeting on the comments, so I decided to email you guys. Hopefully, I don't know if you saw it, but I think it's, just if we're going to be using Mass Association of School Committees as an advisor on this project, and we're paying Mass Association of School Committees to do this, and we also have Mass General Law, that I think it's really important that this BEDH-E guidelines for public comment does actually reflect the guidelines, and that this is a school committee meeting. The school committee chair, the school committee should decide what is on the agenda with guidance from the superintendent, but this is your meeting, this is a school committee meeting. And it is really up to you to decide ultimately how things are going to be on the agenda and who's going to ultimately make that decision. And I think that's really important. I also think that there's a lot of people in the community right now that are just really perplexed as to why these particular policies are rising above all these other ones that are that in a lot of ways people see as being more important. I mean, I was just looking back at the minutes and I saw that, you know, there's a big change in law with regard to suspensions, student suspensions. Where is that policy change?
We voted on
We
that
voted
last.
on that. Oh, sorry.
Well, we put it in the handbook, and then
Yeah.
we'll incorporate it into our policy, but that would go through the first reading, second reading, and thing.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, there are other examples of policies that are a heck of a lot more important than this one at this point in time, that we're missing, that we've been missing for a long time, that don't comply to legal mandates. And a lot of people have been asking this question, why is this one so important? Why did this one rise to the top instead of all these other ones? So that's it.
I think that we were actually trying to just go in order through A, B, C, and that we've been kind of wrestling with this one for a while. If that's what I remember the process was, that we were taking them in batches as part of the
Right,
review.
and plus the Natick,
Right.
hearing, so,
Right.
wanted to be updated and all the reasons Tim stated
Mhm.
earlier.
Yeah, we have to,
And we're getting there.
Yeah.
We are moving forward. All right, so, next item on the agenda, donations.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have several donations that I ask for your approval on. $2,313.53 from Grennan Barrett to Medfield High School Student Activity Account. $1,000 from Thornburg Investment on behalf of Robert Joseph Costello IV to Memorial Gift Account. $378.89 from the Blake PTO to Blake Gift Account for Middle Ages Project. And $825 from Blake PTO to Blake Gift Account for Fun with Science. I ask that you approve as presented.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, that passes.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you to the donations. Future agenda, any informational items, sorry.
I don't have any, Madam Chair.
Okay. Any informational items from the committee? Anything?
Wonderful concert you all missed
Oh, yay.
today.
Always.
Yep. 4th and 5th grade band
So cute, I miss those.
rocking it out.
How about you, Lily? Home stretch.
Yes. I don't really have much. Just like student council, we're starting to work on our Wooden Hearts fundraiser, which is like similar to like our candy canes, but we're gonna sell Wooden Hearts at lunches in February, and then all the profits go to the Dana-Farber Foundation, I believe.
Yeah.
Should we remind people kind of where that came from? Do you remember? I do.
The kids were like little,
They were little, yeah.
really little.
So the Wooden Hearts fundraiser began with the Augustini family, where Jody Augustini, who was the parent, passed away, well, fought for a very long time and passed away quite early in her life from breast cancer, and her children continued that or began that fundraiser and continued it. So this is probably, 10, 12 years now that
Yeah.
it's kept going. And I just think that that's a really beautiful tribute, not only to Jody, but to the strength of her family, for how much we've been able to incorporate that into
Yeah.
our student council.
One of her sons was on the council last year,
Max,
so
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
We've kind of continued talking to him a little bit about like where we get the stuff and stuff.
Oh, great.
Cool.
That's really wonderful. Thank you. Cool. Anything else?
I think that's all.
Okay, lovely. Anyone else? No, alrighty.
No,
So,
thank you.
future agenda items, we have the budget public hearing on January 26th. We have pre-K-12 ELA evaluation on the 26th. We have the Metro West Adolescent Health Survey results that are going to be shared on February the 9th. And our next meeting is the 26th. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved, Tim. Do we have a second?
Second, Michelle.
Second, Michelle Kirkby. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Alrighty. Thank you, folks. Thank you very much.